Hey everybody, I'm John and this is Blind Whiskey Reviews. Hey everybody, and thank you so much for joining me today here on Blind Whiskey Reviews, the most honest reviews on YouTube. Today we're doing another of our No Time Like the Present segment where I crack a bottle of whiskey and tell you guys my thoughts ahead of us doing the blind review down the line. And this is a little bit different than a few of the other ones of these that I've done because this is a sample provided by this distillery. Limestone Branch provided this sample of their Yellowstone Limited Edition. This is the 2019 edition, which is either just coming out or will be coming out soon. And I wanted to get this one out to you guys so you can make your decisions when you see these pop up on the shelf and kind of have a few ideas as to whether this is something you may like or not. So I wanted to get into this one, and I'm definitely going to be doing more of these when distilleries send me new samples of whiskeys to review. I definitely want to do these No Time Like the Present segments for you so you can have that information to help make your decisions on these things. So like I said, this is the 2019 limited edition. This is aged 9 years and it's bottled at 50.5% alcohol, which is 101 proof. This particular 2019 batch is, I think, different than the few previous batches that they've released. My understanding is this is a blend of 9 and 12-year-old whiskey. I don't think they disclosed the ratios of those two whiskeys, but 9 and 12-year-old whiskey, which is why it has the 9-year age statement. The previous, at least 3 releases of this thing going back to 2016 were also aged additionally in, most of the whiskey was sourced. They did at some point begin blending in their own distillate. I don't believe any of their distillates in this, as their distillate isn't that old. But the other previous releases were aged in used wine casks. And I don't believe this one was, so I think out of the line this is the first of their straight bourbon whiskey and not bourbon finished in wine casks. So very curious to try this one out. They sent me a decent sized sample, so we'll definitely also be doing a blind review of this whiskey at some point down the line, but let's get into it. Oh, really nice nose. Big, rich, fruity characters. Big vanilla, big caramel, brown sugar. Very, very sweet on the nose. There's nice light apple notes there. There's also some cherry. Almost like a raisin-like character. Maybe more like fig. Smells fantastic. I can't wait to get into this, so let's not wait any longer. Cheers. All right. Definitely need to give this obviously some subsequent tastes. Gotta let the palate acclimate to the whiskey. At first taste, it's not nearly as sweet as it smells. Some of those flavors are there, but they're not quite up in your face yet. But let the palate kind of adjust to this a little bit. There's a little bit of a taste of alcohol on the first taste here, which again, may not be indicative of what the whiskey really tastes like. Let's get another taste in. Okay, a little bit less alcohol in this taste, although it's still there. You still can kind of taste the ethanol here. Nice, sweet fruity notes up front. Mid palate, kind of like your typical bourbon, it switches into the sweeter, darker characters like the brown sugar, the caramels, almost like a burnt caramel too. There's almost not, it's not, burnt as in it tastes like smoky, but it's like this deep, rich, kind of dark, sugary character to it. Back of the palate, it definitely kind of bitters up on you a little bit. Finishes relatively like short, maybe like the short end of medium. But let me get another taste in here. Definitely left with a little bit of vanilla and bitterness. Definitely kind of like the woody notes that you would expect. All right, now it's really starting to open up a little bit. Now that my palate's really kind of acclimated to the alcohol, I'm picking up on a lot more flavor characters here. A lot of what was on the nose is starting to come through a little bit more. And I'm wondering perhaps too, I mean, I don't know how they dispense these samples, but you know, if they're pouring them from fresh bottles or if they're pulling them off of barrels to make these samples, I'm not really sure. I mean, obviously it's a blend of whiskey, so they're not pulling it directly out of a barrel, but I would imagine they're pouring this from bottles into here, so this probably hasn't had any time to get some air and oxygen into it. So as we normally do in these reviews, I'm going to let the whiskey sit in this glass. I was just checking the level, make sure I had enough whiskey to do it. I'm gonna let the whiskey sit in the glass for 20, 25 minutes, give it an opportunity to open up, let those flavors kind of develop and come forward a little bit more, and we're gonna see how it's tasting after it gets a little bit of air time. So we'll see you shortly. All right, we are back. And this whiskey's been sitting in the glass for right about 20 minutes, I think. Give it a chance to open up. I feel like it's developed a few more oaky notes. Maybe the vanilla's come forward a little bit. I was kind of expecting the fruity notes to come forward a little bit more, but that hasn't happened, at least on the nose. Let's get back into the taste and see if the taste has developed a little bit. Yeah, I would say kind of very similar to what I said in the nose. The fruitiness is kind of pulled back just a touch. The brown sugar sweetness is up a little bit. Vanilla is up a little bit. There's almost even a slight nutty character I'm picking up on now. The finish, again, it's pretty short. A little bit of like that oaky tannic bitterness. You're left with a little bit of that vanilla lingering. Doesn't last very long though. I can drink of water, see if that'll clear me up a little bit. Actually, with the drink of water, it kind of allowed, and obviously, sometimes when you take a drink of water, the water coats your mouth, you throw the whiskey in your mouth, it has the same effect of diluting the whiskey in the glass. It actually allowed some of those fruity characters to come back forward. It ramped up a little bit of that like red fruit, cherry flavor, which is good. I think it kind of picked up where this was lacking a little bit for me. Yeah, definitely much better after that sip. A little bit more well balanced. That nice red fruit sweetness that's kind of carrying through the mid palate is really balancing out the front end of this nicely. And it's even kind of lingering on the finish now, which is good. So for me, that definitely knocked this whiskey up a couple notches. So as an overall assessment, I think this is a really solid release from them. Do I think it's like a mind-blowing whiskey? At this point, no. I mean, it's a pretty straightforward bourbon. I like the red fruit character that's kind of there. I wish there was a little bit more of it. I like the level of sweetness through the whiskey. I don't think it's very sweet. I mean, it's got a nice consistent level of sweetness, but it finishes a little bit dry. I wish that sweetness would kind of carry all the way through the end. Like I said, it's not overly sweet to start with, so it's fine that it would finish that way. I wish the finish was a little bit longer. You know, obviously we're nitpicking here, but if I had to pick a few things I'd like to see out of this whiskey, I could use a touch more of complexity out of the whiskey. Like I said, it's a pretty straightforward bourbon. And if you like bourbon flavors, you're not going to be mad at this at all. At the price tag, which I don't know, I didn't check on this, so don't quote me, but I believe this goes, in years past, it's typically gone for somewhere around $100. For that price point, I'm definitely going to want to see this whiskey open up a little bit more over time and see how it's doing then. I think it's very solid right now. $100 is a little steep for me. I don't know if I'd be a buyer at that price with how it's tasting right now, but I'm excited to do the blind review coming up in the future, hopefully soon, and that way we can kind of see how it develops and if it really garners that $100 plus price tag. So right now, like as I've done in a couple of the last No Time Like the Presents, I'm gonna give it a score because I think it's a fun experiment to kind of see how my score of a whiskey that I'm reviewing not blind, that I know what it is, compares to when I do it blind. So I think that'll be an enjoyable kind of exercise for us here to see how, if anything, changes from my blind review to my non-blind. So I think that'll be an interesting experiment. For this, I'm gonna say it's a pretty, in the realm of good bourbons, it's kind of middle of the road. So I'm gonna give this a very solid, I think it's like an 86. I mean, it's very, very good drinkable bourbon, and I'm enjoying it. But again, for it being a limited edition release and with a hefty price tag, I would like to see a little bit more out of this. So we will figure out if it can bring that in our upcoming blind review, and hopefully it comes up soon. I got enough whiskey to do it, so I'll pour a sample of this to review as a fresh whiskey, and I'll also pour a sample in a couple months when it's gotten a little bit of airtime, so we can kind of see what's opening up. So we'll do both those reviews coming up in the future. If you've had the opportunity to try any of the limited edition Yellowstone releases, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. They're obviously going to be a bit different than this one, as the previous three were wine finished, but let me know what your thoughts are on those whiskeys. And if you've had the opportunity of trying this one, like I said, I don't even know if this has been officially released yet, but it should be hitting the market. If it hasn't already hit now, it should be coming very soon. So if you have had the opportunity to try it, let me know again in the comments down below. As always, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at blind_reviews. You can also catch me on Instagram at Mission Bottle Kill, where I'm posting pictures of all kinds of people emptying out great bottles of whiskey. If you want your picture to come up on the page, just tag at Mission Bottle Kill in your post. And you can also send me an email at blindwhiskeyreviews@gmail.com. That's whiskey with an E. And until next time, cheers.